Welcome to I Can See Clearly Now. My name is T.R. Carr. I'm the host of this series of podcasts in which I interview various candidates for City Council and for Mayor of the City of Farmington Hills. This afternoon, we're interviewing a candidate for Mayor for Farmington Hills, Jimmy Lossia. We will be asking a series of questions about his campaign literature, so that you can hear his responses in his own words. Our goal is to clarify issues, to increase understanding about candidates. You can cast an informed ballot when you vote between now and Election Day on November the 4th. Thank you for watching. So, welcome, and do I refer to you as Jimmy or how?
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Jimmy,
Okay.
yes.
I'll refer to you as Jimmy during the conversation. One thing we would say is that, as you're aware, being a mayor is a very, very part-time position. I was mayor of Hazelwood, Missouri. I did three-year terms, 9 years, and I was as a council manager for him, so I had one vote among 7. So to get anything done, I had to work with the entire council. I did not have veto power. I did not have the power to issue proclamations without the approval of the councils. So I'll just begin by saying, since it's a very, very part-time position, what is your motivation for seeking the office of Mayor of Farmington Hills?
My motivation is talking to a lot of people. No one seems to be happy with current situations, with a lot of issues. Say that with renters are real unhappy. They don't feel like they're being treated fairly. And I feel there's a disconnect with government, city government particularly. There's a disconnect there. And I think city government has their views on certain issues that don't really align well with what's really going on in society and with many of the residences. For instance, the renters, which is a big issue for me because rental properties are deteriorating. And they're deteriorating because these large corporations are buying them out. They're not putting any money into it. And they're using a price fixing algorithm called RealPage. And anybody can look that up. The Department of Justice investigated them for 2 years, and they concluded it's a price fixing algorithm. And all the property managers use it. So there is no competition. The prices are kept high. They're sucking all of the renters, dry, especially seniors. And they're not putting the money back into the community or into these rental properties. They're like I said, they're deteriorating. I just got code enforcement finally out to Hunter's Ridge. 56 buildings. The guy informed me that every single building, he said there's nothing that's ever been down. The buildings have been there for over 50 years. The gutters have never been cleaned, replaced, same air conditioners. The pillars that hold up some of the roofs, he was showing me they're loose. So it's issues like that that are not being addressed. And we've waited 50 years and they haven't been addressed. Okay. So that's one of the things I want to go after, is having those properties improved and add into the charter some regulations like the city of Ann Arbor has done, where the illegal junk fees stop. So okay. That's kind of what motivated me. Issues with the people that I don't feel are being addressed properly.
Okay, thank you very much. These next questions has a couple of parts. As you know, we have to file campaign reports with Oakland County. People can go look it up, but I have asked every candidate in round numbers, how much do you anticipate spending on your campaign for mayor? Just in approximation.
How much have I raised? Or
how much do you plan to spend?
I'm going to end up spending probably anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 on my campaign.
Okay, and the next question, because we know that campaign signs, mailings, all that costs money. What's the source of your funding? Are you self-funding? Are you drawing it from people locally in Farmington Hills, or is it coming from outside?
Currently, it's mostly self-funding. Okay. I received my platform clearly states I don't take corporate donations. I haven't solicited any donations for corporations. I've I haven't done any fundraisers because I got into this race so late, haven't had a chance. I've received under $1,000 from just local individuals. So most of it's coming from me
So
personally.
you're self-funded. Okay, some people do, in fact, self-fund their campaigns. Um, the office of mayor is nonpartisan. It's neither Republican nor Democrat nor any other party. Are you supported by any political party, or are you just an independent candidate?
I came in as independent. I typically, when I vote, which seems like the question most people are really looking for, how do I vote? I vote split ticket. I don't vote for a party. I vote for the individuals. So I came in as an independent because I'm not happy with either party, all the infighting, and I don't want either party to have their claws into me and how decisions need to be made for Farmington Hills.
Next question I have deals with an issue that currently faces Farmington Hills. Farmington Hills has signed 2 contracts with a consultant from Atlanta, Georgia, to look at special services. Now, special services in Farmington Hills consists of the Park and Recreation Department as well as senior services. And the big issue facing us is the Caustic Center. If we look at this, the Caustic Center is an old building. The pool leaks, the building needs a lot of work. The question is, where should senior services be located? One proposal seems to be from the consultants to rebuild the Caustic Center at 11 Mile. Another proposal seems to be make an addition to the Hawk. Now, the Hawk is a 55-year-old building, and the consultant identified in round numbers, $12 to $15 million of current maintenance that needs to be performed on that building. So building a new Caustic Center at the Hawk would involve building a pool. It would involve building a gymnasium. It would involve building meeting rooms for the seniors. The consultants also identified OCC, Oakland Community College, as a site, but that seems to have evaporated because they're now focusing on building a hockey arena, and that will consume the land that might have been available for a senior center. So therefore, that site does not appear to be. So it's going to be 2 sites: rebuild at the current Caustic Center at 11 Mile, or move to and build a new addition to the Hawk. I have not seen expenditure data on what it would cost to build those, and the consultants have not come up with those. But the consultants did identify the current location as what the seniors preferred. What is your position on the future of senior services at the Caustic Center, the current location in 11 Mile, or building a new annex onto the Hawk at 12 Mile?
So I did dive into that a little bit. I spoke to Marcia, who I believe runs the Caustic Center, and I spoke to Ms. Rich, who was gracious enough to provide me some information on where they are with that. And then I've spoken to a lot of the seniors. It's a senior facility we're building. You should listen to what the people are asking for, and then come up with a plan to try to make that happen. Marcia's the one in the field. So if I was mayor, I'm going to the people who are in the field, who have more information, and I'm going to seriously consider their advice. Her advice, and from the seniors, they want something built. Well, some of them prefer just updating the old building, which wouldn't be cost efficient, from what I understand.
You're correct. That building,
yeah,
it cannot be maintained.
Right, it can't be maintained. So it seems like the most cost efficient way, we already own the property, is to build a new building on that property at 11 Mile. But while you're building that, make sure you're keeping the old building and services open so that there's still something there for the seniors to use.
Okay, that sounds good. As we look at your role as mayor, should you be elected, the formal power of mayor is very, very limited. The mayor has 1 vote, just like every other council member, and so it requires 4 votes to get anything done, the mayor plus 3. And ideally, you want, of course, in policy decisions, we want more than just a 4-3 vote, but that sometimes it has to happen. How will you secure support of other members of the council for initiatives that you favor?
Well, it depends on the situation to how.
Now,
I
what
can be
strategies-
I can be very persuasive. If
I guess I'm saying
feel-
is what strategies would you follow?
Yeah. So I think if there was an issue that needed to be addressed that I thought, say, lowering taxes, which I'm very much for. This is not the time to raise taxes. People are struggling. Farmington Hills, from what I understand, has a large surplus. This is the time where Farmington Hills has to step up and help out the residences. And that's why I think lowering taxes should be mandatory. If somebody on the board is against it, well, I have a large social media following. I think my social media following is larger than all the other candidates put together times 5 easily. I'm transparent. I'll let the public know, look, we want to lower your taxes. These individuals don't want to lower taxes. They haven't come up with a good reason. Let the people speak. How do you feel about that? Hopefully, if it's something that people will want, they'll speak up. And hopefully by them speaking up and the other holdouts to lowering the taxes, for instance, see that, they'll recognize, because they're there to govern for the people. As long as it's feasible financially, there's no reason not to. So that's one of the ways I would take. But I would call out the residents of Farmington Hills as a last resort. I would continue. I don't give up on things. I don't even know what the word give up means. I'm the type that just, growing up, never give up, never give up, never, 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 ever give up. So maybe I'll wear them down, but I will find common ground eventually to get other board members to do what I think and the residents think is best for the community.
Okay. One thing you've mentioned in your literature is you're looking for road improvements. I know the city has been doing quite a bit on road improvements, so roads are always an issue. What do you mean in terms of better road conditions? What kind of strategies would you follow in terms of assessing roads, deciding where to spend the money that's available for improving the roads? Now, some of our roads are county roads, which we don't control, but Farmington controls a lot of local roads. So what would you do?
Yeah, I believe that falls under the DPW department.
Department of Public Works, yes.
So, I read an article and saw a story comparing Michigan roads with state of Ohio, who has great roads. They have a different mixture they use for their roads. Like, for instance, they don't use cement because we found out now the cement's not good, and that's why Michigan has so many potholes. They use a blacktop solution. I mean, personally, I know when I'm in business, when I get into business, I go to someone who runs that similar business and is doing very well. And I learned from them. And then I implement that strategy to the business I'm running. So something like that, you would send representatives from Michigan, from the DPW, go to Ohio, learn what they're doing, how they're doing it, because they're doing something right, and bring that information back for us to emulate. The other issue, and I heard this from signing my petitions, it seems like one of the number one issues people had were, why is all the construction always done at the same time? It seems like it's time bad. You have, too many roads closed down at the same time. I don't know if that's because we have such a short season to do it, but I would look into that. I don't know if it's because, we're not getting the funds quick enough from the state that we need for the control of theirs. But I would look into that, if that can be retimed so that we're doing different sections at different times throughout the year, so it doesn't cause such a clogged city, then we'd implement that. But the primary thing is find out what Ohio's doing right, and then bring that to Michigan.
I know before we moved here, we were told that in Michigan there's 2 seasons, winter and construction. And now, in the last several years, that appears to be the case. You can't get there from here within within the region, a lot of road construction. Let me ask you this one question that I did a lengthy podcast on understanding what we look for in candidates. Was to look at their background information. What have they done that's right? What have they done that's wrong? And my understanding from just a quick perusal of the web, your name pops up that you spent some time in prison. Would you care to tell us a little bit about what that was, when that was, and why we should still vote for you?
Yeah, that was in the late 90s. I tell everybody, a rough 4 years. For whatever reasons that I justified what I did, which were financial crimes, they can look at what they're listed as, mail fraud, those type of financial crimes. I had to go through that. I had to go through that to be where I am today. I wouldn't change that experience for anything because I did spend time in prison. But spending time in prison, I had a choice. I had to let this destroy me or learn from it and make myself better. And I decided to make myself better by one, I'm in there. It's a unique opportunity. I'm in there with every degree of human being you could think of, from the person I actually roomed with, billionaires, owned, actually involved with the Martha Stewart case. But I was also in there with drug dealers and gangbangers and hitmen. When you're living with people 24/7, you learn more about who they really are and their cultures. And I was determined to find out and learn more about different people, different cultures, to understand their thinking on why they do things the way they do. It's a gift that I received because when I came home, I saw things differently. I gave up a lot. I did more time than I expected to do, and people have a right to know this. That's why I'm not going to hide from it. I took accountability for what I did. I wouldn't. They wanted the other people involved. I chose to take it on myself. So because of that, the judge gave me a lot more time, and as a result of that, I was engaged at the time. She committed suicide a few weeks after I was sentenced. Talk about a moment that changes you. Anyways, she's what got me into the animals. She was a incredible human being. She loved people. She loved animals. She's the type that would speak to a homeless guy and give him a hug. And everybody she spoke to, they felt important. She always told me that it's not, people rarely remember what you say to them. Mm-hmm. She's like, but Jimmy, they always remember how you made them feel. So I promised her and myself that I would dedicate the rest of my life into living in her spirit. And so every individual I'm able to help, every animal I'm able to save, I kind of feel, yeah, her smiling down on me. So, but the legal stuff I had to go through to get where I am today. And if I'm not different than what I was 30 years ago, then I wasted 30 years of my life.
Okay. I know you talk about animals. You do a lot with stray cats and pets and things like that. Homeless cats.
Lost pets.
Okay.
There's a tremendous amount of lost pets. My primary platform is the Nextdoor app because it's local, and pets can tend to be part of people's families, and when they go missing, they don't know how to find them. So I've learned throughout the years from trappers and other experts how to locate lost pets, how to trap them, and then return them back to the owners. And it's enjoy. I do it. I do it for free. Everybody keeps asking, how much do we owe you? I go, nothing. I go, thank you for the opportunity, because it's a great opportunity to be able to help somebody and to find their lost pet and return it to them. They don't forget something like that. So I do a lot of that throughout the community. It's my own time, my own money. And then, yeah, I also help with I call it the homeless cat. You got ferals, you got strays. What people don't realize is since COVID, once we had COVID, a lot of people there stuck at home. They had nothing to do, so what did they do? Many of them went and got pets. But once COVID ended, they realized, oh, my life is too complicated. This is why I didn't have pets. They never had them fixed. It was tough, difficult then because everything was closed. And they would just, they tried to get them away to the shelters, but the shelters and all the rescues got filled. So they just let them go. And they're out there. One female cat has 4 litters a year, 20 to 25 kittens. So imagine how fast that multiplies. That's why there's so many from just the last 3 years. It seems like everyone has homeless cats around their house, and it's going to get worse. So we try to TNR them, which is trap, neuter, and release. So at least this way they can't reproduce. The ones who are real friendly, we try to find them homes.
Okay. One thing you talk about on your webpage is this whole thing of transparency. Now, as long as I've been involved in the public sector, everybody talks about transparency, and we get different definitions of transparency. So, what is your definition, or what is your approach to be transparent? Should you be elected to mayor? Transparent in your decision-making process, transparent in the policies and programs that you favor.
My transparency is the brutal part. I have a lot of voters calling me or texting me asking me about abortion. It's got nothing to do with running city government. I give them my stance on abortion. I find out later, well, that's not ours, but we're going to vote for you because you're the only one willing to answer that question. They have me call me, what party, or who did you vote for president? Or what do you think about transgender and the LGBT? And I answer all those questions as best as I could. I don't hide from them. I don't deflect them. Politicians out there today, I have my, refuse to answer those questions because they're afraid they're going to lose votes. I think people appreciate more when you're honest with them. It shows that you're respecting them. And if I'm going to run for mayor and earn their vote, they have a right to know where I stand on issues, even though it has nothing to do with the mayor's responsibility in the city of Farmington Hills. Maybe it's, they have other moral, like the abortion issue. So yes, brutal truth is just answering them, giving the information. The other transparency is what's going on with the Cossack Center. Where is it on the Farmington Hills webpage and where they're at now? Keep people updated. They don't want to guess. I've learned over the years that, for instance, if you're going to be late or if you can't follow through on a promise, don't keep people in the dark. That's what really, the unknown is really what angers and upsets people. If you just let them know, hey, we're not on track with this, but we're keeping you updated and informed. People are like, okay, thank you for that. So that's my idea of transparency. And the money, I went and looked at the finances and, unless I'm an accountant, I don't understand most of them. What does miscellaneous mean? What is miscellaneous? Stuff like that. It's their money. They have a right to know exactly where and how that money's being spent, not on some sort of index that just labels, miscellaneous or, senior facilities. Be more transparent so that the average person can actually understand and read how their money is being used.
Oh, okay. One question that I have for you, a lot of people, when they address the future of Farmington Hills, they talk about what they would like. They like restaurants, they want more sit down, things like that. They tend to be talking about small businesses, and that really is an integral part to our economic base. But at the same time, we have some large corporations which are really essential for the tax revenue that they pay. Nissan has a big engineering campus and a test facility. Humanetics builds all the crash dummies. Those dummies cost for upwards of $1 million+ to build a crash dummy. We have a lot of larger companies, and we have smaller, smaller businesses. What would be your strategy? What would be your approach to building the economic base of Farmington Hills? Because what we want to do is to be sure that part of our tax base comes from individuals paying property taxes, but a significant part comes from corporations. So what would you do to build? What strategies would you follow to build the economic foundation of our country, of our city?
Well, first, if you want to build the economic strength of Farmington Hills, you have to make it affordable. You have to lower the cost of living for the residences. That's where lowering taxes comes in. But more than that, I mentioned these property management teams, properties that they own. I don't know if people grasp the bigger picture. When you have companies that probably are from New York or Los Angeles, and they buy up these properties and they bleed them dry and let them corrode while they're sucking all the money and financials out of the residents of those properties that are renting, that money leaves the city. When you cap the rent, and you cap, say, for senior citizens, you can't raise rent, which other states do successfully, and everybody's making money. You cap the rent for senior citizens where they can't raise rent more than once every 3 years, because that thing I hear where they can move. No, when you're 70 or 80 or older, it's not reasonable for you to move. And these property managers or companies know that, and they raise rent. For instance, I have a World War II veteran. I mean, not World War II. I think it's Vietnam War. He's Army. Not only was he Army, he's Special Forces. He rented into Hunter's Ridge, and he was because they were giving a $350 a month discount for a veteran. Now here's somebody that also, he lost his hand, and he killed for our country, and new owners came in and took that right away. Now the guy's semi-handicapped, and he can't go out anymore. He says him and his wife can't go out twice a week any longer because they just took that away from him with no explanation, and they can't afford going out to dinner. So that's money coming out of the small businesses. The senior citizens that the ones I spoke to, which are a lot of them, they tell the same story because the rents are so high, and they're inflated because of the price fixing scheme. So when the property manager comes, oh, they're consistent with what the average is. It's because they control the average. That's going to end. It's illegal and it's wrong. And if people who are representing those residents actually cared, they would do something about it. But somehow rules get changed in the charter where the zoning board doesn't go into these buildings any longer to investigate bad leaks or black mold or the corroded buildings. I mean, I had to go in and use the fact that I'm a candidate. We need to get in there for them to finally do that. I don't know why would we put in the zoning board. Why would they put into the charter, we don't go into these buildings anymore and investigate? I think I know why, but I don't want to make any accusations. But I think the voters are smart enough to figure it out. So when you lower the cost of living and get out some of this corruption, because I call the property management companies corrupt, that's putting money back in people's pockets. And what happens then? Now they're spending that money in local businesses. So that's one way strengthening the city and the economy. As far as these larger corporations that want to come in, it depends who they are. Of course, you want to make something feasible for larger corporations coming in, but like Mercedes we just brought in, right? But that was the Illich family. They own that property. They're leaving now. They're going to Atlanta, Georgia. Well, that's where my relations come in. I grew up with Chris, and maybe I have a better route to talk to Chris on what we can do with that property that would be both, financially good for him, but also for the city where we can get more taxes and maybe increase our population, which also brings in more taxes. Uh, Taking the office buildings another way. You got all this empty office space. They're not coming back. Okay. Convert those, get them rezoned and convert them, probably not into residential because of where they are, but you can convert them into, you know, cost efficient condos, or over 50 complexes are become very popular, which I could use right now. So you do things like that, it increases our population, which brings more money into the city, and the taxes, because you don't want any more apartments. We have 10,600 apartment units right now. That's plenty, 25%. And this is why it's a big deal for me. And I don't understand why the other candidates don't see that. 25% of the population of Farmington Hills rents. That's a large amount. We don't need any more apartment complexes. We need the apartment complexes brought up to code, but we need tax-paying residents coming in to bring us more revenue. And that's my bigger picture plan. And I don't know if you can accomplish that in 2 years. That's the other thing that should be addressed.
The office of mayor is a 2-year term, yes, with two limitations. You know, that's it. So, and then we operate within the legal confines of the state of Michigan. So municipalities really, their power to control rental prices is very, very limited and sometimes non-existent. Well, you know, I've enjoyed being able to spend some time with you, but as I look at the upcoming election day in November, you know, we can vote early, but I'm trying to decide, who do I vote for? So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to tell me, people like me, the residents of Farmington Hills, why should we vote for you as mayor of Farmington Hills? We'll give you time to make your statement so that people can understand you in your own words.
Well, I got into this race because I think, like most of the residents, they're frustrated and they're sick and tired of the status quo. I'm not a politician. I actually am real shy. So getting up, speaking in front of large groups of people, typically I freeze. Some person even said that it looks like I have Parkinson's disease because I tremble sometimes. That's the anxiety I get. But I decided to jump into this because I've heard from so many people, from the work I do around the community, who pushed me in to just run, Jimmy. We need a realist. You're a realist. You're upfront. We trust you. You should give it a shot. And I decided finally, all right, let's do this. You have somebody running that doesn't just tell people, I care about you, to get your vote. You have somebody running that for the last 15 to 20 years has been out there showing people that he cares, helping people in the community, whether it's with their pets or their medical bills or the homeless that live in cars near one of the fire stations. I'm out there on my own time with my own money because I enjoy helping people. It's not, I've learned watching a lot of wealthy people in their last moments. And one thing that's consistent with all of them, the amount of money you save, the amount of toys you buy, the amount of homes you gather, at the end, they don't mean anything. They mean nothing. What means something are the lives that you're able to have a positive effect on. That's what it's all about. All this other stuff, forget about it. It's all about the lives you're able to have an impact on. So the other reason I'm running for mayor is, yeah, somebody's up there that I want to make proud of me. But now, instead of helping one family or one individual at a time, I have a chance to help almost 100,000 people at a time. And maybe by coming in and changing the status quo, showing these other politicians, you can actually be honest with people and transparent, and they'll still vote for you. Maybe that will help change the status quo throughout the political system, at least locally. So that's the reason why I'm running. Who knows what's going to happen, but it's going to be interesting.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for coming to be interviewed, to be able to, we can learn more about you, learn about your background. This is, I can see clearly now, T.R. Carr, the host, and we've been privileged to have Jimmy on board to answer some questions. So again, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here, and we wish you the best as the campaign unfolds in the coming weeks. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay.